We arrived at Spain for round number 3 of ILRGT Season 6, and it was once again Jamie who got pole position with Red Matt with a really good P2. As we go down into turn 1, Red Matt did not get a good start, and Francis was straight up to P2, and ILR Jamie actually got down to P2, pointing to turn 1, so we all cluster into the first couple of corners of turn 1 and turn 2. Red Matt almost getting squeezed onto the gravel by Fred Panda, but it was Fred who deemed to be victorious in that battle for P3, with Racing Green trying to squeeze around the outside and Matt not being able to see him, which Matt kept as P4. But further back of the grid was 4 abreast with Speed Knighton, Scott and Casper were worst off from that 4 wide incident. As we look on board with Renegade, 4 into 1 just does not go. Later on down the road on lap 1, Kyle had looked down the inside of Racing Green. The door was shut, a little bit of contact through Racing Green, but there was no real loss there. And later on, Kyle had looked down the inside. Green, I believe, was a bit hot under the brakes, went a bit wide, and that opened the door for Kyle, and that moved him up into P5. This is safe to say this wasn't Francis' best race, as he was sitting in P2 with Fred hot on his back. Fred down the inside later on the brakes, got the inside line, hugged it on the apex, and Francis couldn't defend, and that was Fred up into P2. Moving further down the grid now, we had Hassan behind the slipstream of MK Bourne, looking to go around the outside, but MK Bourne hard on the brakes and good under the brakes, defended down the inside. That BMW straight line speed is proving to be quite good. Moving up now to Francis, currently in P3, but Matt right on his back. Matt looking to go down the inside. Mercedes down the straight is keeping with him. Matt better down on the brakes, looks down the inside, and Francis is now down to P4, with Francis really struggling this race. Francis had a little look around the outside, but there was just no use, and Matt is now up into P3. Back now to P8 with Renegade and CPA Casper now, as Renegade didn't get the best exit and Casper capitalised on that, looked down the inside, but whilst that was happening, MK Bond pitted, but CPA Casper is now gone round the outside. Renegade looking to go to the inside, but Casper a lot more confident on the brakes, and a nice clean move around the outside there from him. Down the road, Francis was still struggling, sitting in P4, but Kyle had the inside line, and Francis nothing he could do, dirt on his tyres, almost goes into Kyle, who was in the inside, now the outside, and that's Kyle up into P4, and Francis down into P5, who now has Racing Green on the back of him at P5. Looking a little sniff down the inside to try and unsettle Francis, but Francis for now keeps his P5. But this is where Francis' race went downhill. He went into the pits, crashed into the wall, and the game overtakes control of his car, and it couldn't get him out of the pits. Francis couldn't do anything, and unfortunately had to retire from the race. Lap number 7 now, Jamie pits from P1, surprise surprise, and Fred and Matt are still yet to pit, trying to go a bit longer into the race. And with Fred and Matt on really old tyres and Jamie on fresh tyres as quick as he is, it was a pretty easy move in the end for Jamie, who had the inside line for turn number 4. Matt let off the power, just waved goodbye to Jamie, who was obviously on for another win. And Fred misjudged his braking a bit, but either way Jamie was on fresher tyres, and it was an easy move again for Jamie. To the back now with the Speed Boys, and Y Racer was really struggling at this race, losing the rear, putting the power down a bit too early, and his teammate as well was having the same issue. Knighton onto the grass, too much power, and it was probably a race to forget for them too. Well, MK Bourne, who is quite an experienced ILR driver as well for the ILRT team, clipped the grass on the curve trying to maximise the entrance, and unfortunately lost the rear, and that ruined his race for him there. With Hassan going longer into the race now, it's up into P2 as Fred and Matt have pitted and emerged just ahead of Racing Green has Matt. And Racing Green pitted a lap earlier than Matt and Fred, and this claimed deemed to be a very good idea from Green, but Matt only just emerged ahead of him. But a lap later, further down the road from turn 4, Matt was around the outside and Green a lot more confident on the power, and Matt had to suffice P4 due to Green having the inside line, and it was a nice good move from Green there. Matt has a little nosy down the inside, but not really an overtaking move, and Green is up to P4. Moving to Fred Panda now. Hassan still yet to pit, with Fred on fresher tyres. Had a lot more momentum around the corners. Brakes laces down into tight hairpin. Fred was up into P3 with Hassan yet to pit. Later on, same corner, Green a lot more confident under the brakes, fresher tyres. Was Green up into P3 with Hassan eventually pitting on the same lap now for his new set of super soft tyres, which emerged him into P6 in clearer air on fresher tyres, which he was a person to look out for in this race. A lap later, Matt pitted now onto fresher tyres to see if he could get the undercut on Green, so did Kyle, who was sitting happily behind him, let's be honest with you. Unfortunately, his undercut attempt deemed to not work due to a back marker pitted at the same time, causing Matt to get held up turns 1 and 2, which this would deem to be costly, as later on in the lap Green pitted, responded to Matt's undercut, and this led to Green emerging ahead of him and Matt pushing as hard as he could to try and get the undercut to work. Just didn't work, and Matt took a lot of life out of his tyres because of this. Matt trying to catch up to Green during 2 to 3 laps, and this proved vital as his tyres were really showing their age now, and Kyle a lot more nicer on his tyres, let's be honest with you. It was now on the back, as well as Hassan, who was on a 2-stop strategy, lurking behind. As we go on to the main straight now, slipstream is really effective in these cars. Matt defending to the inside line from 2 cars now, with Hassan looking to overtake Kyle in the process. It's 3 wide into turn 1. Matt defends the inside line really well, with Hassan overtaking Kyle in the process. Can Hassan get Matt as well? Not quite, as he has to go back behind Matt, who's got a really good run on him into turn 4. Matt parks his car in the middle of the track with Hassan on fresher tyres, looks around the outside. I think it was a really nice move there from Hassan, and Matt's tyres would just go in, and this would lead to Kyle eventually overtaking Matt, as Matt had to pit again because his tyres were just showing their age, they were really old, and that would move Kyle up into P5 and Hassan into P4, chasing down Racing Green, which onto the penultimate lap. Hassan was now breathing down the neck of Racing Green as he switches down to the inside of Green. Nothing he could do, the door was open. Hassan on the fresher tyres under the brakes claims the podium on P2. Green undoubtedly quite sad about that, I assume, as P3 for his first race in the season would have been a good start, but unfortunately that was not meant to be. Onto the final lap now, Matt on the fresher tyres, down in the inside and dummying him, going into the inside. Kyle on the older tyres, nothing could do, trying to put the power down before Matt on the fresher tyres was able to apply the power down now, and Kyle now down to P6, but the penalty would cruise vital for Matt. But how can you not clap to this man? Jamie P1, another dominant performance from the lovely Livery Subaru. P2 Fred Panda, another amazing drive by him. P3 to Hassan and P4 for H Racing Green. P5 to Matt, P6 to Kyle, but the penalty would demote Matt down to P6, moving Kyle up into P5. Whiteout in P7 with CPA Casper, the last remaining car, to finish on the lead lap in P8. In P9 was Renegade, P10 Speed Knighton, and P11 Speed Y Racer. And the DNFs unfortunately was MK Bourne, Francis, and X Scott, who got taken out at turn 1. So join us again for the next round of ILRGT, round 4, where we go around the Nürburgring, and the next race will be live streamed by Jess, who wasn't able to attend this current race. So I hope you enjoyed this highlights, and until then we'll see you around for round number 4 at the challenging Nürburgring.